being modest. Now it's grams of the wax for my conscience. Bron James in LA, you're on college. I've been jumping on them planes like a hobby. Still moving with the pack like my partners. Put the John on them jets cause you wildin'. But the bowl is a party on the island. Moment of silence. So good, get back to the topic. Grew up, it was me and Flocka. Grandma's and Big T, this my mama. I ain't even for the pain when my pots flip. Knew his name, that's it, never bothered. Mom said, you the man, son, you got this. Ever since I found a way to go and pop shit. Hold up, blaze through a whole zip. Took a seat at the table of my first flip. Days in red roof for my first whip. Split the money with the gang, never post pics. Seen a change in the game, had to coach it. Never let them take my wangs in the mold, bitch. Ever made in a month, nigga. Used to serve him at the minute just to front, nigga. Goddamn. Had to grow up quick, I made my own rules. Had my first child, got it jumping with music. Can't really hang with nobody who losing. I thought by now that you would go and get it, but I could hardly see niggas this distant. Know you get cropped if you not in the picture. And I made that tag and went got a bag. Shots to the Henny and OG prescriptions, put rebel shit on the map. Took a leap from where I started at. Started ballin' now I'm Chris Paul and Cass. Got him steady calling for the mold, but I'm on a roll, gotta call him back. And that's all fact.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. All carry-on items should now be stowed securely, either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. All aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas should now be clear. All electronic devices should now be turned off and stowed, as they may interfere with the aircraft's navigational and communication systems. Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices, but note that some items may not be used at any time during the flight. You'll find a list of approved devices in the in-flight information section.
All right. Welcome back to the Pocket Locker Podcast. So first, I want to tell y'all why I decided to delay this stream by 15 minutes. I just needed to have a good private cry after the last stream. All this has been a lot on me. I guess I can say that. It's not about me, but it has been hard on me. The people I'm hurting, it's been a toll on my mental health, my schedule, my budget, my move, everything. And the worst part is the people closest to me are hurting far more and going through much more trauma. All right. So, I encourage others to just cry it out when you need to, Sometimes it's what you got to do. With that being said, cheers to everybody that's riding with us. Cheers to the people that are trying to do the right thing, offer some support, actually act like a motherfucking community. Here's to you. Hope you're all having a happy new year. Mode. All right, trigger warning. Today we are going to be talking about sensitive topics involving assault and community and institutional failure, psychological harm, and in particular the concept of flying monkeys. Totally understand anybody who wants to check out, and a reminder to everybody to take good care of yourself as best you can. Please prioritize your self-care. And also, let me see. I will, yes, I see. Yes, we have links in the description to support the Apostate sisters. There's also a playlist if you want to know about what's been going on. I'm not going to be rehashing the particulars here. And also have a link for RAIN, the National Sexual Assault Hotline. So please avail yourselves to those resources. And yes, we are all going through a lot, but please do not be mistaken. We are here for this, up to the task, locked and loaded, ready to deal with whatever may come. We just have to cry it out once in a while and do our best we can to take care of ourselves and each other. All right. With that being said, we're going to be talking about the fate of flying monkeys. And yeah, let's go ahead and get to work.
I do believe in spooks. I do believe in spooks. I do.
You'll believe in more than that before I'm finished with you. Take your army to the haunted forest and bring me that girl and her dog. Do what you like with the others, but I want her alive and unharmed. They'll give you no trouble, I promise you that. I've sent a little insect on ahead to take the fight out of them. Take special care of those ruby zippers. I want those most of all. Now fly! Fly!
All right. Let's go ahead. And there was a couple shorts I showed on the last stream, but we're going to go over them here because they're good little introductors, ways to introduce what we're talking about today. Let's hit it.
They may often do something called enlisting flying monkeys. Flying monkeys are the people who were close to both of you in the relationship, your family, your friends, and they'll start to try to turn all of them against you. Hey, just so you know, you think your sister's such a great gal, she did this, this, and this, and they'll tell them all these lies, and then now these people will start turning against the poor person who left the narcissist. They may often...
Right, so in this case, right, that's what happens when both people are part of a overlapping community. The example here was, turning family and friends against you. But in our case, it's what happens when the victim and the assailant are both part of the same community, right? And then the flying monkeys are taking this person that people know, that people have a relationship with. They're going, oh, did you think she was so wonderful? Did you hear about everything she said and did before? Did you hear about all these things she said and did after? Did you know what she was really like? Did you know what she was really into? Did you know about this thing going on in her personal life? Did you know about this reason she had? People say they don't want to try things in the court of public opinion. I believe that is a dodge for something when public accountability is absolutely necessary. But additionally, nobody seems to mind trying victims, witnesses, and whistleblowers in the court of public opinion. Somehow it's only the perpetrators that should be shielded from this.
How to handle a narcissist flying monkeys. Flying monkeys are people that are on the narcissist team and they commit abuse by proxy. The narcissist uses them to help spread their smear campaigns. Or if someone has cut off the narcissist, they will use their flying
Happy motherfucking New Year, Carrie-Ann.
monkeys to try to communicate with that person. The first order of business is to identify who the flying monkeys even are. And when you identify them, you have to treat that person as if you're talking to the narcissist, because everything you say to the flying monkeys, they are going to report back to the narcissist what you said. That being said, people that are still friendly with people who have abused you, they're not really people that are close to you.
People who are still friendly with people who have abused you.
And at the bare minimum, you're going to have to be really careful with them. But maybe you want to go no contact, maybe you want to limit your contact, but like I said, at the minimum, you need to be careful. And family dynamics is where this is going to be the most complicated.
Yep, and that's what's happened when you're within community with people, because the power dynamics all of a sudden become heightened. The gender dynamics become heightened. The role of influence and proximity to influence become so important. Whose narrative supports, whose narrative is comfortable for the community, whose narrative is easy for everybody to rally behind, versus whose narrative puts everybody else in an awkward place, whose narrative puts everybody else having to deal with something that they are not willing to confront. Whose narrative allows us to keep doing business as usual? Whose narrative says we need to burn this business to the ground?
They do that. The gossiping, the twisted versions of the truth, the outright lies, the third-party communication, the cryptic messages on social media, and the smear campaigns. Let's talk about the flying monkeys. The idea of flying monkeys comes from the Wizard of Oz, where the Wicked Witch of the West commands an army of winged monkeys who will thoughtlessly do her bidding, causing all kinds of trouble for Dorothy and her friends. So is it true? Are narcissists all-powerful people who can command an army of minions to do anything they ask them to and cause all kinds of trouble for you? Thankfully, reality is a lot more complicated than that, and most of the time, it's a lot less terrifying. My name's Ruth Ann. I'm a clinical psychologist and expert in relationships and issues of narcissism. In this video, I'm going to talk about how highly narcissistic people might relate to third parties outside of your relationship and what their motivations might be. The term flying monkey is popular on social media, but it doesn't come from the scientific or psychological literature about narcissism and is often used in
Calling harm drama is refusal to see the human cost. Kyle, I could not agree more, and really, really powerful words that I hope people will take the time to reflect on.
a rather stereotyped way that dehumanizes not only the narcissistic person, but also the people around them, the ones who might be called the flying monkeys. The term is used to describe a wide
Carrie Ann coming through. Carrie Ann, appreciate you. Carrie Ann said, I shamed girls in the past. I did not think that the guy could do it. So how could I let him get hurt? He was my friend. Yeah. Yeah. That's an incredibly powerful sentiment, especially given this situation. And the very also powerful follow-up comment, I was wrong. Carrie Ann, that's what life's about, unfortunately. You know, I envy people. I'll say that I envy people who sincerely believe they've never done anything harmful or hurtful to someone. I really do envy that state of existence, however one achieves it. But for the rest of us, it's about that reflexivity, that whoa, how do I respond to things? Why do I respond that way? And then the reflectivity of, well, I got to really think through my behavior and its impact, right? And then just being able to say, I was wrong. No excuses. No, of course we could talk about reasoning and try to understand those things so they can help us do better in the future. But you know, being very clear. Hey, I was wrong. Sitting on some bullshit. Yeah, I gotta clean that up. And that's what we're looking for here. We're looking for people to take that part of the journey. And even if you don't want to come out publicly and you know flog yourself or oh my goodness, like we don't really need all the performative public apologies necessarily, but changing course of action, showing that I'm gonna be part of the solution. Fuck whatever was being said before, fuck whatever I may have even been talking about before. From this moment moving forward, I'm gonna try to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And we'll take care of the rest later. Right now, we urgently need people rallying to support the people carrying the load of support and accountability.
range of behaviors, and I think it can be very helpful to understand what the likely motivations of a narcissistic person might be and the likely motivations of the other people involved. I think that can help create much more understanding.
Hey, Jake, I'm with you. I don't talk to my mother either. And I can't imagine the thing to say to most people to signal to them that I must be some kind of monster, right? I can't think of like I don't know. I'm just from that time, y'all, right? Where they would always say that like one of the things women, and I'm a man, I date women. It's just a straight man, I should say. Just saying why I'm bringing this up. Part of it was like how he treats his mother, right? So. So how's your relationship with your mother? I never speak to that bitch. Oh. Literally, I cannot think of a thing that makes you sound like you really must be some kind of monster deep down inside. But no, and I think my mother is not a great person. Definitely been in an abusive relationship with her for a very long time. Think she is very much a narcissist. And when I learned that going no contact was the way to deal with narcissists, I've done my best to go and maintain no contact with that narcissist. Having given birth to me, and I would even say raising me to be a decent human being and being part of my support system throughout life, even in hard times, does not give one license to abuse me, hurt me, violate my boundaries, or not prioritize my well-being. And if you are my mother, you have that burden, I believe, more than anybody on this planet, because especially when I'm your only child, I am the first, last, and only authority as to your parenting. And if to me your love hurts, then the reality is your only child believes your love hurts, and they would rather just stay safe and keep you away. So I totally understand. And shout out to anybody else that doesn't have a good relationship with their parents. I totally understand that it may just be really what you need for yourself. And yeah, we're here to support each other. And shout out to year 2026 and doing what we can for each other and not needing our toxic parents.
And reduce a lot of fear around the idea of flying monkeys. The most important thing to understand about narcissists is that pathological narcissism is a disorder of shame. It's largely based in the idea that unless I'm someone who's really spectacular, wonderful, and amazing and perfect in every way, and admired and powerful, then I'm worthless and nothing. And so any kind of conflict is a real source of threat to the narcissistic person. Conflict may highlight flaws or inadequacies. It may represent other people being annoyed at them and making negative judgments about their character. It may leave them feeling out of control, devalued, and attacked. And that leads to shame. And highly narcissistic people are highly prone both to shame and to extreme rage and anger in reaction to shame, especially if they feel that they're being devalued or criticized or judged in any way. Now, when any of us are angry, we tend to view the situation and the other people involved through the lens of our anger. And if we talk to other people, we'll tend to communicate a rather one-sided perspective on the situation. A narcissistic person's anger is likely proportional to the level of shame they feel in response to any perceived slight or insult. And because narcissists are highly shame-prone, their reaction can be extreme anger and rage. And this narcissistic rage can be really understood as a way of defending themselves from having to acknowledge or from other people seeing any negative contribution that they may have made to the conflict or anything negative about them or their character. And talking to other people from that place of anger and rage can be a way of getting validation, to feel right, to feel justified, and rebuild up that self-esteem to recover from the shame that they feel as a result of any perceived slight or insult from you. This isn't...
And that's important too, so that people understand that like it's not, you may not see the rage, right? What you are going to see is the mask. What you're going to see is the persona. You're going to see the performance that the person puts on to correct any, dings in their armor that they're going to use to mask. They're really going to mask that rage. They're going to mask the true feelings that they have by appearing to be above reproach, so socially acceptable. And that is how they are attempting to regain control of the narrative.
Necessarily a deliberate, calculated attempt to smear your reputation. The narcissistic person may truly believe what they're saying and feel completely entitled to the rage and anger that they feel. Another possibility is that the narcissistic person fears the damage to their reputation that might come from you talking to other people about your experience of the conflict. So they may be acting to get out ahead of the story in a kind of twisted PR exercise, so they get to share their version of the story before you get yours in.
And this is why you have to be critical of the organizational responses involved, and you also have to be careful of how these things are weaponized against victims. For instance, in this case, these organizations should have acted proactively, immediately, to remove this person. And certainly, at the very least, actually, they should have called law enforcement. Point blank, period, end of story. And we should have then found ourselves in a you call, we haul type of situation. But beyond that, he should have certainly been removed and not allowed to continue participating, certainly not in such an influential official capacity. And at bare minimum, he certainly needed to be kept away from her. None of that happened. None of that happened. He was permitted to have unfettered access to her physically, socially, in the presence of people who, by this time, had heard about this incident, knew about what's going on, and literally only her sister was, seeming to be experiencing any concern. I'm not sure what the level of communication about it was at that point, but certainly there were people organizing this event who certainly were aware of what had happened by this point, who absolutely should have known it is not appropriate for this contact to be taking place. Of course, there's much more private and extended communication happening privately between these people. Another thing that shows you the people involved in handling the situation were not qualified to handle it appropriately. And, we know that that type of contact in that very, very critical window is a really powerful opportunity for the narcissist and the perpetrator to really get their hooks into the victim and begin softening, begin changing the narrative, begin coaxing, begin apologizing, all of these things that may seem to external observers as genuine remorse or a genuine a genuine willingness to be held accountable, but they serve to really influence the process in a way that really kind of starts to coerce people into handling all of this privately, or handling all of this discreetly, or handling this all in a way where the focus is the minimization of harm to the perpetrator rather than the victim, where the concern is to not bring further complication or potential embarrassment to other parties, such as other influential people who remain in close proximity to that person, other channels and organizations that were involved in the event or continue to be involved with the perpetrator. That is so much easier now to prioritize because the person has been able to coax the victim into allyship for them. And then everyone else is so much more easy to get to go along with this. And again, that serves the perpetrator's purpose. That allows them to maintain an unblemished persona and image and mask, because everyone agrees that this should be handled in a way that does not damage them, and coincidentally also happens to allow us to continue doing business as usual. So it upholds the status quo, and it allows everyone else to be comfortable in that bystander effect. See our last stream.
And that can be as much an inner psychological defense against having to acknowledge their contribution, their flaws, their mistakes, their inadequacies, or their bad behavior, as it is an attempt to win other people over to get their support and validation. Another motivation may be to use third parties to get information from you. Narcissistic people tend to be fearful of rejection and abandonment, so using another person to get an emotional temperature check before approaching you can be reassuring. It allows them to figure out where you're at and what your likely response to any communication from them might be. That means they don't have to be vulnerable enough to approach you and to find out how you are. They find out from someone else, and it helps them to stay maybe a little more in control of the communication. Now, there are times where a narcissistic person can be so enraged that they launch an all-out attack on your reputation and character. Unfortunately, I've certainly seen that happen to people I've worked with and people who are in my life, and it's extremely distressing. If that's the situation you find yourself in, then my recommendation strongly is to get legal advice from qualified professionals to help guide you through that terrifying, distressing, and actually quite precarious situation. Now, that might help you to make sense of the behavior of the narcissistic person, but what if the other people involved, the ones we might call the flying monkeys? I think it's helpful to remember that gossip and talking about other people is a normal form of human interaction. It's kind of in our nature to do that. In fact, research suggests that as much as 65 to 80% of our communication is talking about people who are not there. Now, that's not to say that all of that communication is negative gossip. We can be talking about people in warm, friendly, and positive ways. But do realize that talking about other people who are not there is a normal part of human interaction. Some researchers have even proposed that gossiping and sharing information about other people has deep evolutionary roots for human societies. It acts as a way of establishing social norms. We talk about things we disapprove of as a way of communicating to other people what we approve or disapprove of, what behaviors they can expect from us, and what we expect from them. It can also act as a way of communicating who can and cannot be trusted in order to keep societies and people safe. Now, when we hear negative gossip about other people, sometimes it can feel good to be included, to be trusted with that information. It can build a sense of social connection. When faced with someone who's enraged and angry and ranting, it can be intimidating, even if that anger isn't directed at us. And many of us intuitively know that if you can't get away from that person, that the safest thing to do is to validate where they're coming from, because that likely calms them down. Now, that can mean that the person receiving the story from the narcissist isn't taking such a critical perspective or thinking what the bigger picture might be. And that might create a bit of an unhealthy allegiance between the enraged person and the people that they're complaining to. But it can also be uncomfortable to be on the receiving end of that kind of gossip. Gossiping.
No, Austin. To my knowledge, Elliot has not spoken publicly about this. He said, last I heard, the only thing he said about it is basically believe Nancy. Yeah, I do find it interesting that people are very quick to defend him by alleging that he's been supportive of everyone believing her, yet at the same time, people do not believe her. And I do believe that is a contradiction that deserves an explanation. From where I sit, it is very obvious why he doesn't talk about this. thinking about this for, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds to make it very obvious why he won't address it. It should also make it shockingly embarrassing why other channels, content creators, and organizations have not addressed it. And if they're so confident running around saying that the victim is lying and trying to ruin this man's life, why don't they do something to demonstrate that, or have him speak publicly and clear that on up? It's almost like the risk of exposing himself is not the risk of exposing her is not worth the risk of exposing himself. And again, I wonder why that is.
Negatively about other people has also been associated with an immediate decrease in self-esteem. It doesn't feel good to violate our own moral compass by gossiping or engaging in judgments about other people that we feel to be unfair or unjustified. And in this way, a narcissistic person's attempt to gain validation and support for their perspective through negative gossip, they will find that their attempts backfire and they become someone who's seen as untrustworthy and potentially dangerous. What of the third parties here, the so-called flying monkeys? While some people may truly believe the version of events that the narcissistic person is telling them, others may choose to side with the narcissistic person, or at the very least not challenge them, even when they know that the allegations being made and what's being said is at best an exaggeration of reality. And they may have their own motivations for doing this. For example, in families or friendship groups or workplaces, it isn't unusual for people to want to keep the peace and to avoid conflict and disruption.
And you hear that, right? You hear that with the, let's just stop talking about it. Oh, we don't have her permission to be talking about it, so we shouldn't. Damn the fact that when flying monkeys claim they have her permission to talk about it, that's good to go. When witnesses say they at least initially had her permission to talk about it, which would make it then fair game for further discussion, right? Once you've agreed to let people talk about something, even if that dialogue then gets out of your control, you did initially agree to let people talk about it, and you've sort of consented to letting go of control of the narrative once you agree to let people discuss something publicly. Again, despite the fact that her sister says, I've been giving her blessing to share her story over and over again. Because again, people would rather maintain the narrative that avoids conflict, that avoids disruption. They'd rather say, shut up and stop talking about it. Let all this happen. Let it all take place. This is fine. Nothing to see here. Let's all be home together for the holidays. This isn't a good time for this. This isn't the right time to have this conversation.
You may also know that you can't really challenge the narcissistic person, because if you do, then their rage and anger may well turn against them too. Friends or family in this kind of situation may take on the role of peace negotiator, try to calm you down and suggest ways that you can smooth things over, but often in a way that leaves you feeling minimized, not understood, or even judged. And that can leave you feeling isolated, alone, or even really angry and defensive. And it can also leave you feeling like you don't know who you can trust and being fearful of what you say being passed on to other people in the system.
It's okay to be angry, Carrie Ann. People should be angry. Just don't do anything irresponsible. We're all doing our best to find constructive ways to channel that anger. Sometimes we're successful, sometimes not so much. But people should be outraged. One thing that concerns me about this community is the fact that many of us are coming from high control cults. And again, most of you are either white or move in proximity to whiteness. And that has a certain degree of taboo for the expression of strong emotions, particularly rage from marginalized people. from women, from people of color, from LGBTQ people. When white guys pop off, flip out, and curse, it's, you know, it's considered masculine and machismo and all of this bullshit. When anybody else does it, it's, oh my God, I can't hear anything you say because of the way you talk. But understand that outrage is the appropriate response here. And part of what people need to do to make these spaces more inclusive is to normalize that outrage and the expression of it, particularly from marginalized groups. You should hear a loud chorus of women yelling at you when a sexual assault takes place, particularly on a woman, and nobody does anything about it. There should be lots of people everywhere really, really angry about it. That anger should be deafening. It should be, you can't post anything on social media without these motherfuckers calling you out in your live chat or in your fucking comment section. You can't do a YouTube video without people fucking being all up in your comment section or all up in your live chat, trying to call in your line. The line is fucking struggling. Can't get motherfucking theists to call in. But now all of a sudden, every goddamn time the line goes fucking line, there's secular humanists and atheists calling in, what the fuck happened at Nanocon and what the fuck are you gonna do about it? Damn, we can't even do a show up in this motherfucker. Is anybody going to the next convention? I dare a motherfucker to show up at that convention. I dare a motherfucker to show up at that convention. You want to see how fast you lose fucking subscribers? How motherfucking fast you get boycotted? You want to see how fast you lose support up in this motherfucking... I dare you to go to one of these physical harm. No. Nobody's threatening physical harm against you. We're going to cut your ass off and hit you where it hurts in your goddamn analytics, your goddamn subscriber count, your goddamn wallet. We know the oxygen y'all breathe on. We don't have to lay a fucking finger on you to cut your ass all the way. I dare you to go to one of their motherfucking... That's how you handle it. You should have that level of outrage. When instead, everyone has literally been culturally indoctrinated to be like, I have to maintain peace and order. I have to avoid personal attacks. I have to avoid name calling. I have to avoid raising my voice. I can't call anybody any names. I can only speak in quiet, humble tones, usually something I've taken the time to write and script out previously, then had an editor look over it, make sure my lawyers check it out to make sure there are no risk involved there. Then I will put together an orderly, like, y'all know. Nope. Sometimes we just got to shove our foot all the way up a motherfucker's ass and keep it moving.
Or to the narcissistic person who's saying all kinds of terrible things about you. And despite wanting to keep the peace, people in this situation can often fuel ongoing gossip and conflict. And some people may be
X, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I need to go see who goes. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Yep. That's why sometimes we gonna be watching these channels. We ain't hitting that like button. We just gonna lurk for a few minutes to see who the fuck is in here. Yep, we gonna register for the conference, pull up. Now I'm just going around taking attendance. Just going, hi, good to see you. So, yep. Love your content. Yep. Check, they on the list. Oh, Seth Andrews, good to see you. Yep, he's on the motherfucking list. Oh, Matt Dillahunty. Yeah, you doing it. Yeah, who's here? Yep, sure enough.
Own personal gain to please a narcissist. I've certainly seen that in workplaces where a highly narcissistic boss or CEO rewards people for their loyalty, and so people really want to stay in their good graces for personal gain. Whatever the motivation of the third parties, it never feels good to be the subject of negative gossip, believing that other people are making judgments about you, talking about you, hearing versions of events that are twisted and distorted versions of the truth is extremely distressing. It can lead to a deep sense of shame and social exclusion, and you can even start to feel like a social pariah, thinking
yes, and this is again, it's not just what happens to the victim. This has happened directly to the victim, but it also happened to The support system also happened to her sister, who is also part of the same community. She has been treated. She's been called a liar. She has been canceled. They said, hey, sorry, we can't have you come on and talk. I mean, you can't have somebody divisive like you running around doing this crazy shit, standing up for your sister, claiming your sister was assaulted, and we should do, we can't have that. Sorry. We just think people feel a lot safer and more comfortable if we didn't make content with you going forward. Yeah. And no, you definitely can't be part of the Christmas marathon. Oh, you could fucking forget that. No, right? So we literally treat, and then the whistleblowers come forward like, y'all, this shit not making no sense, y'all. Look, we weren't there, we weren't a fucking part of this, but look at what the motherfuckers that claim they are a part of this and they were there, look at what the fuck they're saying, y'all. The shit is not adding up, y'all. Tell me how it's supposed to make sense. She's inexperienced and new to BDSM, but somehow she's so down with CNC that it's okay to toss her down a flight of stairs and strangle her, knowing good and goddamn well that's not part of BDSM or CNC. But she's so into it. Not only is that supposed to somehow have been okay, it's also okay because they were both just so drunk. But at the same time, he was really super, super drunk all day. She really wasn't that drunk. And so what we should actually be talking about is a pretty much sober person, maybe mildly buzzed, taking advantage of a wasted person who could neither give nor receive consent. But again, it's all consensual non-consent, even though they were both too wasted for either to have consented, even though she wasn't too drunk to have consented to all this. But also, she may have just fallen down the stairs. So she was really not that drunk, but she may have just fallen down the stairs, but she's so drunk she just doesn't remember that she fell down the stairs. But again, she's also was not drunk enough to not remember falling down the stairs. Also, she was doing all this to get him down to her room because she wanted to do consensual non-consent BDSM stuff with him in her room, even though her sister and her sister's niece was staying there. So even if we just pretend that like the Apostate sisters are into the kinkiest, craziest shit that you've ever imagined in your life, just some super, super porno shit where they just do consensual non-consent BDSM shit in front of each other with people that are like meeting for the first time, one of them is also willing to do this in front of their child. And so the whistleblowers are just like, yo, it's just not adding up. It's just not making sense. It's not adding up. The fact pattern is not facting. The math is not mathing. And then all those people get harassed, doxxed, isolated, treated like social pariahs, canceled, isolated. They also, you know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So they get treated like social pariahs. So then the other motherfuckers like, yeah, I better just stay the fuck on out of this. I better definitely not throw my hat in that ring.
Everyone around you is gossiping about you and forming negative judgments about you. And that's incredibly painful, especially if some of those people have been trusted friends or family members in the past. That's the situation you find yourself in. You're going to watch my next video, which is going to come up right now.
Oh, being drunk is no excuse, but it's also the excuse. Again, it's not making any sense. All right, y'all. So that was our little warm up, and now we are going to jump into the main event of the evening. I hope that was literally a good little serious introduction. You see, we're featuring some people who featured a real expert right there. Okay, we're trying to handle this like in a serious educational fashion up in this piece. Okay, but now we're going to get into a discussion about the fate of the flying monkeys, and I think this is going to serve both as a signal boost for us to see, okay, let's sit back and watch the dominoes fall and get ready to see this all taking place. And if you are one of these bystanders or flying monkeys, I hope this serves as a warning that you may want to get on the right side of this as soon as possible. Again, Just a courtesy, continued trigger warning, continued reminder to prioritize your self-care, but continued message that the goal here is not to be threatening or harassing or harming to any of these people. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It's to insist that they really do need to be cut off. You really do need to go no contact with these people. We really do need to protect this community from their continued influence. And again, I'm calling on us to stop watching them, unless it is to, just take notice of who still hangs out in those very seedy parts of the internet. Do definitely not send them super chats. Unsubscribe. Tell YouTube not to show you their shit anymore. Don't buy their merch, and definitely do not go to any of these funky ass, fucked up, unsafe ass events, or continue to provide your support for any of these organizations that are going to let this type of shit continue to happen. But for the flying monkeys and bystanders themselves, this is another reminder that this is a recruitment effort. We are trying to get you to leave the bullshit alone. Stop. We don't even really need performative flailing in public apologies. Just quit sitting on this bullshit. Get in line and get a shovel. That's what you're being asked to do. Get in line behind the motherfucking victim, the victim support system, the whistleblowers and the whistleblower support system. Get ready to address the community failure and the organizational failure, and bring your motherfucking shovel so that you are ready to do some goddamn work to carry your part of the distributed load. Again, you are being asked to course correct, grow, and become part of the solution so you are no longer part of the problem. So while you're going around bitching and moaning about people threatening you and trying to take away your ability to make a living and me, my, cry me a motherfucking river, nobody is even asking you to do all that. We're simply saying, course correct, get in line behind the motherfuckers you should have been in line behind in the first place. The real ones amongst you, grab your motherfucking shield and get ready to join of us that are trying to stand in front of these motherfuckers and stand in the goddamn gap for them, and bring your motherfucking shovel, because we have work to do. We ain't got time to be focused on your fucking belly aching and performative apologetics right now. Grab your motherfucking shovel.
Okay, so where do we start? Let's start with the Wicked Witch of the West and her army of flying monkeys. If you've seen the movie The Wizard of Oz, and most of us have, it's a classic, you know that the Wicked Witch of the West had an army of flying monkeys, literal flying monkeys, to do her bidding. They did whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted it, and they didn't really have much choice in the matter. Now, somewhere along the line, somebody borrowed this term to refer to the people who do the narcissist's bidding. Essentially, these people often end up doing the narcissist's dirty work. And in this video today, we're going to talk a little bit more about the flying monkey, what it really means to be a flying monkey, why these people even do this in the first place, because it doesn't sound very appealing, does it? And what happens when these people fall out of favor of the narcissist? So when they become no longer useful
real quick,
to a narcissist.
I just decided to take a toast because I'm going to kick back and listen, and just chime in here and there. But cheers to the gang, and I want to just raise another little special toast. I'm gonna raise a double toast, okay? The second toast is to the support crew, okay? It's to the Kyle, it's to the Sumami, it's to the motherfucking PC, okay? And then also to the Patty, okay? Patty deserves so much more than toast, but this toast special New Year's Day toast to the motherfucking patty. Y'all, I gotta tell y'all something real quick. Hold on, before I dunk this shot down the gullet, let me just tell y'all something real quick. I will never forgive this community for what they are doing to the Apostate sisters. Yeah, no, we have permission to name names up in this hoe. Okay, the victim was Nancy. Okay, there was a witness that found her. I won't throw her name in this particular stream. Okay, got her to her sister Patty. Since day one, Patty has been holding it down for her sister. Please, gang, imagine if this happened to somebody like me, somebody looks like Sumami, somebody just known for popping off, maybe being, you know what I'm saying, somebody that let's face it, these motherfuckers really don't care about. Let's just be honest, they don't really care about motherfuckers like us. They really don't. But this is the Apostate sisters, y'all. The lovely, fucking open, fucking educational, fucking entertaining, fucking graceful, fucking just everybody loves them, popular, everybody's all about trying to be associated with them. They're literally the vector of so much attention. Half these motherfuckers can't get anybody to fucking watch them unless they're doing something with the goddamn Apostate sisters. Y'all, this shit happened to the Apostate sisters. Never let them, never. All the other incidents, what do we do? What do we do in all the other incidents? We talk about the man. And that's probably cool because they're the motherfucking perpetrator, right? So we say the Carrier incident, the Kraus incident, right? Let's make sure with this one, the shit they did to the Apostate sisters. Let's center them in this shit. The shit they did to the motherfucking Apostate sisters that we all know and love. On behalf of our support of motherfucking Nancy, cheers to the motherfucking Patty. All right, gang, let's get back to work.
What goes down? So we're going to talk about all of that in today's video, and we're going to close it out with a takeaway that I think we should all be focusing on in 2021 and beyond. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina, and on this channel we talk about emotional abuse, how it relates to spirituality, and we attempt to answer the question, where do we go from here? So
great question, Carrie Ann. One thing we can do is keep the public pressure on as a community. We are a community. Even you as viewers, mods, chatters have a role to play. Let other channels and organizations know you will not stand for this type of thing. You are not okay with this. This is not business as usual, and we will not allow people to get back to business as usual. Not today, not never, not ever, until this shit is dealt with. And they don't get to determine what those terms are. They just get to be committed to doing whatever it takes. And then you can definitely hit one of the links down in the description to support the Apostate sisters. We are an internet community. We are a permanently remote community. Very few of us have the ability to drive on over there, you know, bake them a meal, you know, go to the grocery store for them or whatever it might be. So please do send money. It's their link, it's their support that allows Patty to decide, you know, how it can best be used, where it's most needed. And you have to remember, whether it's helping pay for the expenses that might be involved in whatever processes they may be dealing with, even if it's just, hey, have a nice night out. You know, enjoy a night out at the movies. Enjoy a pizza on behalf of the gang. All those sort of things send love and care and support and just help lighten the load just a little bit, right? But yeah, let's all take an accounting of the influence that we have in this space and what we might be able to do with that influence.
Those topics interest you, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I post new content. So today we're talking about the flying monkey. And if you have not dealt with narcissists who use groups of people to do their bidding, do their dirty work, this term probably sounds absolutely ridiculous. But for those of you who have dealt with narcissists like this, it's pretty spot on. It's really interesting how predictable the behavior really becomes. So I want to give you a couple of examples.
This is another warning to the people involved in this. One of the things that I really think does happen with people in, these sort of weird psychological states and behaviors is there's a lot of cognitive dissonance involved. And there's such a pathological need for doubling down that I think what really happens is they don't realize other people can see and observe their behavior. Like just a little smattering of details I mentioned before when I kept mentioning like how contradictory, right, details are. That was just like a minor sampling, right? Like we could literally sit here for hours and talk about all the fucking contradictory shit these people keep saying, right? But part of their need to keep saying these things and making other people believe them is they literally just keep saying contradictory things, sometimes themselves in like their own fucking conversations or like in a single message or some shit. And so it's like part of the message is like, yo, we can see you and you're really not that smart. You're actually dumb. The shit you're doing is very transparent. And also it's predictable. Maybe not to everybody. Maybe not everybody can see you. And certainly maybe not everybody can see what's coming. But the people who are trauma informed, to people who understand these things, to people who even just by way of lived experience or time spent out here in this community and understanding how these type of things happen and go down, the shit that y'all do is actually quite predictable. And let this serve as another source or resource for those that don't think this behavior is predictable or don't understand how to predict this behavior so that even they can be clued in now. Even they are going to be able to now see you coming from a mile away. And the motherfuckers who know what's up, they been seeing you coming from a mile away. And even though you think you are maintaining some sort of information advantage because you are trying so hard and so desperately to coerce people into a narrative you can control, you have certainly already lost the information war. I'm just trying to warn you, you're not as good at this as you think you are. Your behavior is very, very predictable, and you have already been exposed, and you will continue to be exposed unless you course correct and grab your motherfucking shovel.
Of situations where people kind of fit into this flying monkey role. So we've probably all encountered the boss who surrounds his or herself with yes people who are only going to do what they say and not. That's
what we're trying to do, Steph. It's just time to say that, Pat, that time is gone. And Steph, I think I'm sorry I was wrong. What can I do to help? It's sufficient, Steph. It's sufficient, Steph. It's really, there's so much more, right? There's so much more we could and should do. But most of us are really, and if y'all are putting it on me to point, I'm not saying you are, Steph, but if for real, people are going to maybe look to me and all of this or say, what do I think is the path forward? Steph, I've even said, skip all the bullshit. I've even said, skip the I was wrong, I'm sorry part. That would be nice. But I know how much some of y'all really want to avoid the uncomfortable. So we said you could even skip that. If you want the real path, all we're really saying is grab that shovel and get in line. We're just saying get behind get behind the victim, get behind the support system, get behind the whistleblowers, grab your shovel. So now you can just show up with how can I help? Now you can even skip the public apologies and the begging and, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And you can skip all of that. And you can just show up with this one thing, and that's how can I help? Y'all can tell me if y'all think I'm wrong or what the deal is.
Not really have an opinion of their own. And in instances like this, A lot of times the yes people find themselves tasked with things that are maybe morally questionable, things that they wouldn't otherwise do. But if they want to keep their job, they have to. And really, anyone can find themselves in this situation. But the people who stay are the people who really take to that role, and they do it well. They become the yes people that this narcissist really needs to have around them. Another example of a narcissist who relies on people to fall into that flying monkey role, it's another example from business, and it could be a coworker who takes credit for another person's ideas or another person's work, and they
I definitely dealt with this at work because I used to work with my ex, and she used to talk about people who had to come to like all the meetings she was in because they would always take credit for her work. And after I figured out who she was and what she was about, I would start to think, I think they're actually there for the opposite. I think they're there to watch her because she's always taking credit for people's work. Yo, narcissists will do a fucking number on you, gang.
They use their group, they use their loyal following to shame the person who actually challenges them, the person who asks them to take responsibility for what they've done. So that launches a smear campaign, and the loyal following will step up and help to take the other person down. Another example of a narcissist who relies on this flying monkey mentality or persona.
I appreciate y'all. We all out here, we all just people. And yeah, I think vulnerability is hard, but I think being connected while vulnerable is a real source of strength, both individually and collectively. So appreciate y'all for what it's worth.
Or it could be a friend or a family member who really likes to have control. And it could be control of a specific thing, or it could be control usually of everything. And they're going to take down anyone they see as a challenge. And this could also happen if a narcissist feels that they're the most attractive person in the room. If they feel challenged by someone else who is getting attention, or someone else who might be more attractive, more physically attractive, they could use their group of flying monkeys to take that person down. And really, they have no reason for making another person feel bad. And when it comes to the question of getting you to do things that maybe are morally questionable, these are things they could do themselves, but they're just not getting their hands dirty. It's easy.
And here's another thing about this that's really difficult is, again, it's like there's a Russian dolls effect to this, or like a layering even to this whole thing. Because what happens is some people become flying monkeys of the original attacker or the perpetrator. And there's a lot of people who get involved in that are not really flying monkeys, but sort of perpetrators or offenders in some other capacity themselves. But that role still makes them sort of flying monkeys of the original perpetrator. And then other people sort of become flying monkeys of some of those other parties. So they're almost like flying monkeys once removed, right? There's a degree of separation. They're not really in contact with the original offender, but they are in touch with a flying monkey of that person. And now who may or may not be an offender themselves in the situation. So they may just be covering up for the original person, but they may be covering up for the original person and themselves and their own involvement. And so then you can become a primary monkey of one of these secondary or even tertiary parties, right? There are people who are now effectively flying monkeys just because they're friends or closely associated with somebody that they feel has unquestionable integrity or autonomy, and they don't even realize is a flying monkey once or twice removed. But just out of sort of blind allegiance, they're now carrying forth that that narrative and things. This stuff, even when we start to really understand it and think about it, it's not immediately obvious. Again, the depth, the nesting, and the layering that happens that causes these things to be really, really, again, deep. And so when we talk about the rot, when we say the community is deeply rotted, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that once you start peeling back those layers and you start to see the relationships, not just the individuals, you start to see all the individuals, but then how they're connected to each other, and then how they're connected to the spheres of influence, like the channels and the events, and then the direct role of the organizations and all those connections. Again, it's just very quickly like you're like, yeah, the whole space is rotted. And it's not hyperbole or exaggeration. It's just how easy it is for an incident like this and a pattern of these type of incidents to very quickly create those layers of bystanders and those layers of flying monkeys. And just like that, before you know it, none of this shit is safe. None of this shit is safe. I repeat, none of this shit is safe.
Easier for them if you do it, because then it's easier to throw you under the bus if things go wrong. So why would anyone sign up for this? Why does anyone want to be a flying monkey?
It is very much like
well,
MAGA thing.
The truth is nobody really wants to be a flying monkey if you actually know what it is you're doing. But the problem is that narcissists, especially the extroverted ones, can be very charming, and you don't always know what you're dealing with. People who have a lot of Machiavellian tendencies and like to exploit people in situations and are good at it can be very alluring because they know how to get you. They know how to manipulate people into doing what they want. And these people often do have power, or they are associated with other people of power, people with high social status. So it can be enticing for somebody who wants to elevate their own status to be in this person's inner circle, to be in their little bubble. And this often appeals to people who are highly narcissistic themselves. But you don't have to be a narcissist to get swept up in this. So the second reason why people get caught up in this flying monkey business is because they've been around the narcissist long enough to know that that person is vindictive, and they
Ooh, and this is a side that people don't want to talk about. People don't want to believe that there is, these really charismatic people that at the same time are vindictive. And I can tell you that they are. And I can tell you that a lot of these personalities, like a lot of us really ourselves, there's the carrot and there's the stick. And if you don't go for the carrot, there's always the stick. And what people don't realize is that is really at play a lot in influence peddling. I want to share a story that was shared with me that I think people really need to think deeply about because it says a lot about this space. I had the privilege of doing, I think probably maybe over the time I've been out here, I think maybe 2 or so streams. I've done a couple streams with PZ Myers. And the last one I did with him, I believe was with Dr. Dan. And we actually got to spend some time really talking, I think a little before and after the stream. It was really, really great. For those that don't know, PZ Meyer is someone who was like an influential, person involved in a lot of the new atheist content, and he's also an evolutionary biologist, an educator, right? And so for somebody like me who's, early in my career and stuff like that, and also trying to balance academic life, faculty life, and being a content creator and an evolutionary biologist, it's just always good for me to talk to people that are, in the same line of work, basically. One of the things he was sharing with me, and I'm pretty sure he said he was cool discussing, is that he was part of a group with the Four Horsemen. Yes, it was, the focus on Dennett and Harris and Dawkins and Hitchens. But for those who watch that content closely, you'll kind of, I think, if you think back to, you'll kind of remember what I'm saying, I think, which is that when they really did need to have somebody who could really get into the science, particularly evolutionary stuff. Yes, of course, they did have Dawkins, but they really liked to go with PZ because PZ was like, I think more like of a real, like kind of active faculty member and things like that, right? So PZ would be someone they had for panels and lectures and debates and things like that. And so they were all in like a group chat and they would like promote each other and share a lot of resources and, you know, recommend each other to be at different events and speaking engagements. And they shared stuff like publishers and tried to help each other get book deals, like lots of shit like that. Well, when they figured out PZ Meyer was woke, when they were woke, you know, their understanding of it and wouldn't go along with some of their neocon bullshit and inclinations, got cut off. Nope, no more group chat for you. No more speaking engagements for you. No more book deals for you. So when that see, and people don't know that side of this space. People have convinced themselves, oh no, this is a space full of wonderful, wonderful skeptic, atheist, humanist type. They don't do the coercive manipulation type. You could not be wronger. It's something most content creators don't maybe know about as much or maybe have talked about as much, but oh, it is motherfucking going on. And I hope you see what you take from me talking about the Four Horsemen is it starts, at least in atheism, at least in this shit, with it starts from the top. It starts with the behavior of the biggest names and content creators that, you know, kickstarted all this shit. And it goes all the way through to larger channels like Derek from MythVision. How do you think he gets Durante to do his cooning for him and gets people to tell him, oh, I said it's okay. You can have a black pass for platforming Bob Price, a bigot ass, no big deal. And people use both the carrot and the stick. Usually they offer the carrot. And what people in this community don't realize is that offer of the carrot implicitly is the stick. A lot of what you would see if you could see all of the receipts or put it all together for what's happened here is there's been a lot of influence peddling. There's been a lot of promoting SR and using SR to draw eyeballs and on screen, asses and seats and tickets to events. That's a boost for some of those organizations. Then you have Flying Monkeys who also want that rub. They want that boost from those same platforms, those same organizations. And so they'll reach out to people. Hey, we really want to work with you. Oh man, we've really been enjoying your channel. We think we should collaborate with you. We should have you on the line. You ever been on the Atheist Experience? Oh man, we heard the stuff you're doing on your channel. That's so great. You want to come be a speaker at next year's Nanocon? Oh, dude, did you hear about the fucking cruise? Did you hear about the cruise? Yeah, yo, we could hook you up. You could be one of the speakers on the cruise. Yo, we even got a few ducats to help take care of the accommodations for our key speakers. Yeah, we could be like a damn cheap cruise vacation. Hey, with your secular community, we're gonna make some good content. Hey, all the big timers are gonna be there. Don't miss the cruise. But it's also letting you know it would be a shame if you ruffled those feathers. Man, it'd be a real shame if you made some content and had to call those people out. It'd be a real shame if you start throwing dirt on those people's names. It'd be a real shame if we had to pull your name from that lineup. we were all looking forward to that boost you were going to get from the algorithm, but I think people would just be a little bit more comfortable if you weren't a part of this anymore. And so people don't even realize all that love bombing you see. I see it. It's so obvious to us. Even like, it's so obvious, like when people come in that never watch me, all of a sudden, not only they're watching me, they're sending a super chat. Y'all, that is almost never a regular viewer or one of my friends. It is almost always a troll or somebody who's trying to distract me or being a flying monkey and just assumes I'm such a fucking cheap date that I'll feature their $2 super chat and then they can successfully disrupt my stream. Is literally sending me a fucking super chat as a mini little love bomb. It's literally somebody antagonistic to me, like, let me drop $5 on him and just, I'm sure you'll be unable to resist. Happens all the fucking time. Or people who come in your comment section that are like, I really love it when you don't talk about politics. I love the way today you just talked about Bible, philosophy. You know, it gets a little weird in here when you get too political. But today you just talked about the Bible and the philosophy and the bullshit. And I just love it so much when you do that. Man, I normally am just lurking and not even bothering, but I just had to tell you how much I enjoy today's broadcast where you talked about absolutely motherfucking nothing. Woo! That was really my shit. Coercive love bombing. I see it all the goddamn time. Oh, and the white boys fall for that shit. Oh, they fall for that shit because that stream got 3 more fucking views than normal. They got like 2 new subscribers. There's a whole ass additional human being who left them 1 comment in the comment section. Oh, and they are fucking hooked. And if you tell them they should not do more of that bullshit content, especially if they're platforming bigots and problematic people in the fucking process, which most of them are most of the time, boy, will they whine. But the growth. But I went from 7 concurrent viewers to 9 concurrent viewers. How could you ask me to not do this anymore? Coercive love bombing, y'all, and it don't even take a lot of it. It doesn't even take a lot of it to get these motherfuckers to throw marginalized people all the way under the bus.
Know that it's easier to be in this person's bubble than to be outside of it. So they might participate in a takedown of someone else because it's just easier than it being them. And because they know that there's probably a trade-off. If they refuse, if they don't give the narcissist what he or she wants, it's going to be them sooner rather than later. But the thing is that later always comes. And we're going to get to that soon. So the fate of the flying monkey, or the fall of the flying monkey. If you've known this type of person long enough, somebody who uses other people to do their dirty work, you've probably noticed that they cycle through people like crazy. Their inner circle tends to change a lot. And if it's a work situation, if it's a boss, they cycle through employees. The turnover rate is incredibly high. And that could be true for a few reasons.
Oh, and this is another thing that actually happens in this community. It's an inherent risk because of so many things. One, so many people are coming out of high control cults and religions. Another is the content tends to focus on either a lot of toxic debate shit or difficult social or political stuff, but even more often than that, again, a lot of religious type stuff. So even people who are not fans or no longer believers, sometimes they're still recovering from religious trauma, and a lot of times they just want to get away from it. The content also tends to be very repetitive, and there's kind of just a flavor of the month, apologist of the week type deal, or counter apologist of the week, I should say. But the content they actually make tends to be regurgitated. So people either have a hard time finding people that can find a way to keep it fresh, or, seem to be at least calibrating what they're doing and talking about it to what the fuck is actually going on in the world or in the space. But again, so much of it is just let's deconstruct the argument from morality for the 15,000th time, right? And then there's all the drama and bullshit and whatever. That is a legitimate reason why some people distance themselves. So the effect is high turnover. Often turnover that goes unnoticed, especially people that are less involved, less central, maybe not central mods, maybe not content creators themselves, maybe more like the lurker crowd. And then there's also kind of I don't know what to call it. I'm just going to go with social alignment attrition. Basically, as a space becomes more and more tolerant to a certain type of thing that a particular demographic of people find problematic, and they cannot really influence the people in that space to change their behavior, they will eventually just leave that space or leave that community. That's kind of where I'm at with a lot of stuff. And it's not even that I'm less about counter apologetics of the mission. I'm actually more committed to fighting against the harm of religion than ever. I'm more motivated to literally do anything I can to fucking end religious dominance of our lives than ever before. But at the same time, I recognize so much atheist content is utterly fucking useless and literally makes zero contribution to that actual effort. So I don't need it. Fuck it. Right? So you just disengage. But the effect of being in a high turnover space is it has a short memory. It's easy for people to forget. It's easy for people to be like, oh, I wasn't even around in fucking July. Shit, I don't know what the fuck is going on, or shit, I kind of disengaged for the summer, and I'm just shit, I haven't watched any of this shit in 6 months. I don't even know what the fuck's going on. Right? So turnover creates its own unique risk, if that makes sense, especially because people are not noticing. I remember we first really analyzed this a lot with Pine Creek. So for instance, one of the signals for me that Pine Creek was really off his fucking rocker and kind of gone to the wind wasn't really my interactions with him. People started paying attention when I interacted with him, or when I went on his channel and would go back and forth with him, and that was sort of a lot of people's first time they saw anybody really call him out publicly, particularly a marginalized person. But what really told me he was a problem was the way he either disregarded or interacted antagonistically in the chat with people that I knew that he knew had been watching him for years and were some of his most ardent, daily, enthusiastic supporters. And I would see how he would throw them under the bus or say stupid shit to them in his comment section. I'd be sitting there you know that motherfucker. And you know that motherfucker fucking loves your channel and loves your shit. It's one of your fucking OGs. You know that motherfucker is a huge supporter of you and is just trying to fucking help you. Be hey, I don't know if you noticed, but you said some kind of weird shit today on stream. You might want to think about that. And I was nah, this dude's fucked up. Because if he's not taking feedback from the motherfuckers that really know that, you see what I'm saying? That told me he wasn't really in touch with his audience. He didn't really give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck. If you don't give a fuck what the people that's been the reason your channel is what it is, and they telling you so that's where I started to notice it. But here's what we noticed when we had our falling outs with Pine Creek. Every issue we had with him, we could document. It was shit he said on his YouTube channel. We could literally clip it, play and react to the whole streams that took hours or just the relevant sections. Everybody had these interactions with him. Everybody went on his channel, had long ass conversations with him. Me, Steph, Lena, Nitty, whoever the fuck it was. We all tried. But ultimately what we realized was he didn't give a shit. We represented a very small, at least to him, insignificant portion of his audience. And the more he said problematic, stupid shit, yeah, we might bitch him out in the comment section or want to jump into one of his live streams, but he just wanted us to go the fuck away. All he gave a shit about was whatever made us fuck off caused a few more new white boys to show up. And that's what I mean about social alignment attrition. People who really want to stand on business and really hold the community and space accountable for doing the right thing eventually realize ain't no damn wind in their sails. And so rather than continuing this hopeless fucking fight, they just decide their time and resources are better used elsewhere. But rather than notice that and mourn their loss or course correct, especially because they're marginalized people who nobody gave a shit about anyway and weren't centered, cared about, or, you know, they were barely included to begin with. They've now been replaced with people who are in closer social alignment to them and are perfectly happy not to even call out the bullshit or happy to go along with it. And so then over time, there's demographic shift from people who would hold accountability, people who would stand on business and do the right thing. They've largely shown themselves the door. And all that remains is passerbys, flying monkeys, and people who would just rather not get involved. And so the place becomes rotted and harmful because, again, and that's what you see happening. You see now a victim that, you know, has really brought forth an incident of very, very serious violence. Their sister, and again, their support system and the whistleblowers, people would rather just victimize, terrorize, ostracize them rather than deal with whatever actually happened. And so turnover creates real risk. Because if we don't pay attention to who's coming and who's going, and all we focus on is the numbers moving in the right direction, the numbers moving in the right direction might be actually making the community less and less safe in direct correlation to those numbers increasing. Meaning growth makes the community less safe. Combine that with the effect of growth on the bystander effect from the previous stream. None of this is safe.
But it's definitely true because people fall out of favor of the narcissist very quickly. Some will hang on longer than others and they will feel this illusion of loyalty. But when you're dealing with somebody who is highly narcissistic, and if you can see that they use other people in this way, there's no loyalty. The loyalty is only an illusion. And if you suspect that you have somebody like this in your life, start paying attention to how they treat people, how they treat you, and how they treat others around you. If they seem to be loyal, think about whether there's something in it for them. Think about whether they're really sticking their neck out for other people with nothing to gain. Because a true narcissist really is not going to do that. They're really only out for number one. They're really only.
I appreciate you, Kyle. I'm gonna keep it at that for right now. But thank you, Kyle. And this is something I should talk more about, but don't. Yeah, since my entire time in this community, I've always been overlooked. What I've come to say is people prefer a white amateur to a black expert. If anybody in this space had my credentials, look at how supportive people are of Gutsa Gibbon with her background in biological anthropology. I have a master's degree in biological anthropology from the #1 anthropology department in Penn State University. I have a dual PhD from the most famous experimental evolution lab in the world, literally working on the longest running evolution experiment in the history of science. That is actually an experiment that people in this community talk about all the time because it is such powerful evidence of evolution. But again, they would rather have a white amateur student or graduate student talking about the Lenski experiment than a dual PhD who worked on the experiment himself and is a college professor. If any white guy had my credentials, this community would be all over promoting them everywhere. Fortunately, I've now seen enough rot in this community that I no longer want that from these people in organizations. At the current state, I wouldn't be caught dead at one of these funky ass events or on these funky ass fucking shows. But I appreciate my mods for speaking up and holding it down for me and actually doing some advocacy for me, which never happens in this space. People are allowed to dox me, tell me I'm not black, threaten me, whatever. Nobody ever speaks up for me. So I really do appreciate that, Kyle. And it is something we should talk about in more depth, because part of this problem that doesn't want to be acknowledged in this experience, in this community, is the death of expertise. That is literally what the Gutsa Gibbon video that she made about me, you can find on the channel. It's like, I think it's featured on the homepage, is actually all about. But it's about sort of creationist and the death of expertise. What we don't talk about is the secular space and the death of expertise, and that most of these primary content creators, their primary credential is they used to be on the other side. They used to be apologists, they used to be preachers, they used to be ministers. They used to be conservatives. They used to be far-right evangelicals. They do not have the lived experience to play any meaningful role in the progression of and inclusion of marginalized people. They do not understand the psychological, sociological, or any of the other, social sciences that you would need to understand to really address these issues. They often do not have real formal education and scientific expertise. They do not even have real experience as educators. They're not good teachers. Very little experience in politics or community organizing or any of those things, all of which I have a ton of expertise and lived experience in. And so part of this problem, the reason there is so much institutional, community, and organizational failure is because this community has accepted the standard of popular amateurs rather than unknown, relatively anonymous, yet highly qualified professionals. We prefer popular white rookies, especially over marginalized people who are the actual experts in the room. Again, I try not to make most of my broadcast about me, but I do appreciate this. And again, that amateurism is a huge part of this.
Out for themselves. And unfortunately, some people really do get caught up in it, and they think they're dealing with somebody who's loyal.
Love
they
you,
buy
Carrie.
into
Appreciate
that
that.
illusion of loyalty. And, they end up going to great lengths. Maybe they do morally questionable things.
Thanks, Austin.
To help the narcissist, or maybe the narcissist outright asks them to. But here's the thing. We all have to answer for our own actions and our own behaviors. And that's true regardless of whether you're dealing with a narcissist or not. But you'll feel it a lot more when you're dealing with a narcissist, because you will be left out in the cold when that judgment day comes. When it's time for you to take responsibility for the things that you've done in the name of saving your job, or in the name of saving this friendship, or whatever it is. When that
All right, I know SR has not been on the line. I don't know why people feel the need to defend particular organizations. I really don't care. But if we're going to go there, they're all connected. They're all very, very ancestral. They all have their own problematic history. You don't necessarily have to get into it with this particular incident. But Arden is on the line. Dr. Ben is on the line. As far as I'm concerned, Dr. Ben and Arden both play problematic roles in all of this, particularly if you see that Facebook thread and everybody running around saying Ben went up to Elliot and had a conversation before this happened, told him it wasn't a good idea, yet has had nothing to say about this. And again, even if you're not calling out that particular person, why are you not calling out the organizations? Why are you not calling out the Flying Monkey response? Why are you not calling out the harassment campaign against her sister, who's also a part of this community? Why are you not calling out whistleblowers and survivors being doxxed and harassed? Why are you not calling out Flying Monkeys putting her life in danger? Why are these people silent on this? Yet at the same time, they're showing up to say, I would normally believe the victim, but I can't based on what I saw this evening. Echoing the same victim blaming of, again, these flying monkeys. And your name has been used. It's not me. I didn't run around saying, oh, what does Dr. Ben have to say about this? People came to us unsolicited. Hey, even Dr. Ben told them it was a bad idea. Arden said the same thing. No, Arden said she wasn't paying attention to this, wasn't even involved in any, wasn't in the Facebook thread, but showed up to that Facebook thread. Who invited Arden Hart to show up to the Facebook thread? Oh, I would normally believe the victim, but I can't given what I saw that night. And you're not only one of the most popular women content creators in this entire space, a featured speaker at the event, in deep community and contact with all of these people, an OnlyFans model, and a dark romance author, and you're going to let them throw this woman under the bus about throwing her down the stairs, citing consensual non-consent, citing BDSM? All right. Go ahead. Tell me the line has nothing to do with it.
day comes, you're going to be standing alone. Even if that person was by your side the whole time and participating in everything that was going on. So I'll give you a couple of examples of the fate or the fall of the flying monkey. So imagine the faithful worker, the loyal employee who has done everything their boss has asked them.
Being factual would be holding them to a standard of acknowledging the harm that happened in our community. I'm sorry, like I think you're prioritizing your own loyalty to the line, but I don't want to discuss it anymore. I've made it clear my position on the line, and I will time you out if you continue to discuss it.
Too. But unfortunately, the things that their boss asked them to do didn't really work out. So they're left to take responsibility for all of it, and maybe they even lose their job for it. They become the scapegoat for what was really poor direction and poor leadership, but they have no recourse because they were the ones who took the action. And it often becomes a game of he said, she said. Another example would be maybe a friend who participated in a smear campaign of another good friend. Now, they probably bought into all the hype and maybe lies and manipulations of their highly narcissistic friend. But then one day, it's their turn, and they become the target of a smear campaign. And in those moments, they realize that they took the wrong side. They made a big mistake, and quite possibly they lost a really good friend in the process. So the takeaway for all of us.
And that's the thing none of these people will do. None of these people will admit that they were wrong and admit what they did to these people. But this is the fate of the flying monkeys. This person is not going to stand for you. They're not going to go down for you. These people are all going to turn on each other. They're all going to focus on saving themselves. There is no honor amongst thieves in this case.
In this, regardless of whether you've dealt with a narcissist or not, whether you've encountered flying monkeys, or if you have been the target of a smear campaign. The takeaway for all of us is that in 2021 and beyond, I think we all need to be really careful about our actions and whether they're aligned with our personal beliefs and our morals. Because when that judgment day comes for each of us, we're going to have to answer to the things that we've done. So it's my belief that now more than ever, we all take a step back and make sure we're living as authentically as possible.
And again, that's the invitation. Unfortunately, the invitation they won't take. The invitation to just say, again, just what can I do to help? What can I do to help? I see what's happened here. I see that this was wrong. I see that someone was hurt. I see that this community failed them. I see that these organizations failed them. I see that this community continues to fail them. I see it fail her sister. I see it fail the whistleblowers. I see it make all of those people left safe. I see other people making it about them. I see other people playing the victim. Pretending that the real issue, the real danger in this community is whistleblowers who use strong language rather than men who throw women downstairs. The real danger in this community is when the survivors of sexual assault speak up on behalf of the victims of sexual assault and say, none of this is making sense. None of this is okay. None of this is safe. They are treated as the real dangers to the community. And everybody has to defend somebody else's reputation. Everybody's violating Nancy's consent except the person that assaulted her. Everybody's reputation needs to be defended except hers, except her sisters, except the whistleblowers. But don't you dare mention my favorite content creator. Don't you dare mention my favorite event. Don't you dare mention my favorite channel. I don't give a fuck if that channel had a table there or not. If that channel is platforming those events, recommending those organizations, telling people that those are the safe places to go to, and they know what happened, and they won't say anything or do anything about it, fuck them. They are bystanders at worst, flying monkeys more likely, willfully and deliberately ignoring danger to protect their bottom line. And people have the motherfucking audacity to waste breath defending them instead of the victim and the victim support system. I will not tolerate any of it. It is a community level failure, and all of that is part of the failure. But all of this will come to light. These people are all making a losing bet, playing a very dangerous game. And they have already lost. They have already lost. The witness has been incredibly courageous and brave and forthcoming, but very, very transparent in their own way about what has happened here and the different motions and ups and downs that they've been through. and it checks out and it adds up and it is supported by every single fact involved here. There is so much evidence about what happened, who is responsible, what happened in the aftermath, what happened in the days, weeks, and months following. All of these flying monkeys have told on themselves voluntarily against people. So people have been like, please, I don't care. Please don't send this to me. I don't care about this conversation with you. I'm not going to do this with you. Please don't send me anything. Please, I don't. And they do it anyway. They put it all over Facebook. They put it all over Discord. Nobody was even talking about this until the flying monkeys are the source of the conversation. They're the reason the conversation started. And even they cannot present a single fact or piece of evidence that in any way contradicts the victim's narrative about what happened that night. Not a single thing. Not a single thing. All they got is a bunch of bullshit about what happened before and a bunch of bullshit about what happened after. A bunch of gaslighting. And none of the shit adds up. None of their stories add up. None of those narratives make sense. None of this shit checks out. Meanwhile, they put that woman's life in jeopardy, according to them. And it is very clear and obvious why they were cut off. It's very clear and obvious that they do not have the information they claim to have. It's very clear that their timing is not the timeline that supersedes events. Superseding information has been presented very, very publicly. They have already lost. It's time to get in line and grab a shovel, gang. It's time to believe witnesses. It's time to believe victims. It's time to support whistleblowers. It's time to address what happened. It's time to step up. It's time to distribute this load. It is not fair that these women have to carry it alone. All right, gang. I yes. Lots of negative attention seeking. Yeah, I guess we're headed to the headquarters tonight because we're going to try to do this movie night. So come link up with us in the live HQ. Please understand, I believe we are there to have a movie night tonight and have some fun. So I will be letting the mods and the people that have been closest to this, particularly Patty, Sumami, PC, Kyle, and I, to order that. So if there's some space that they would like to hold for people to maybe talk about these things or to have certain conversations, I will allow that immediately following the stream. But if they insist that we move on to watching the movie, that's what we're going to do. And I will not have that be impeded by these discussions. So please do not show up to Work Adventure intent on airing your grievances or whatever it might be. You will either be able to do this, collectively, or I'll pull it and we'll find another way to watch the movies. All right. Appreciate y'all. I really do. Yes, Andrew, that is the app I showed the other day. Yeah, I really do appreciate everybody for showing up. I really do appreciate those of you that have tried to show your support. I know that there's been a lot of stories going around. I do know that there are conflicting narratives, but we have to understand that we cannot only show people support in the absence of conflicting narratives. We have to now understand that conflicting narratives is the norm. Conflicting narratives is how these things play out. And we have to be able to look through the conflicting narratives and see clearly. And here, it is absolutely clear what happened and what the right thing is to do. And until such time as really overwhelming evidence to the contrary would be provided, there are no excuses for either being a bystander or a flying monkey. And so I thank those of you that have trying to get your heads wrapped around this and figure out how you can best be supportive. And otherwise, there is a playlist down in the description about what is going on, and I will add these streams from today to that playlist. Please do check out the stream we did earlier on the bystander effect. And again, want to send my love and support to Kyle, Sumami, PC, and Patty, and continue to express our support for Nancy. Yeah, sometimes being a friend and standing up for a friend means fighting for a friend who has, for their own reasons, chosen to prioritize their self-care. And so that is what standing in the gap is about. That is what being a friend in a support system means. That's what being family means. It means I fight for you even when you don't fight for you. And if people want to take that and run with it, then you're just telling us more about you than you're saying about me. All right. That's going to do it for tonight. Thank y'all so much. Really, really do appreciate it. If you're watching later, please do engage in this process with us. And there are links in the description to send some support to the Apostate sisters. There's also a link down there for RAIN for the support of victims of this type of violence and abuse. And do please prioritize your self-care and being good to your loved ones.